it's me. So this is a technique you can use to add depth and dimension to your tracks. If you're making songs and feel like something is missing in your mixes, if you feel like your mixes can use more depth and cohesion, then this video is for you. I'll show you this technique in use and show you how to implement it yourself. So put your headphones on, sit in front of your studio monitors because you need to hear. This is a bit of a subtle effect, but it makes a huge difference. Let's get started. So this is a remix I'm working on for my live sets and for fun. I can't play the vocal for you because of copyright reasons, but here is the instrumental of the drop, the chorus. So this is the track in question here. Now, you may be used to the idea of ambience being like vinyl crackle or maybe a thunderstorm playing in the background on a sparse arrangement to make it sound intentional, or restaurant noise or something like that, something that puts your track into a place. You may be used to that idea, but this is a little bit different. Let me solo this for you so you can hear it. I'm going to play it at the volume that it's mixed in right now. I'll exaggerate it in a second, but I just wanted you to also notice how low it is in the mix compared to the other instruments. See, it's pretty low in the mix. Now I'm going to play this drop again, but this time about halfway through, I will mute the ambience layer. Now you might not hear the difference, but you should feel it. I hope this translates over YouTube. But what you should feel is a drop in energy, a drop in dimension. It's kind of should flatten out a bit. I'll bring it back in. Did you feel that? So here, let me exaggerate this for you. It's doing that. Now let me show you how I made it. In this particular case, I actually use a tiny snippet from the vocal, but since we're not using the vocal, we'll make a new one using one of the instruments. I'll mute that. One of the instruments in the arrangement. I'll just make a new audio track. And then let's go through and find something. What I'm looking for is a note or a chord, just a sound from within this track, which kind of adds to the cohesion factor. Let's pick that. So I will record enable this track and just record that one hit. Cool. And now we have this. That's it. Now we will add a reverb. And we want like a pretty large decay. And I want to like EQ it later, so I don't want any of this input filtering or diffusion stuff that changes the frequencies. I'll keep the chorus on. And this particular reverb has a freeze function, which is super helpful in this case. If your reverb does not have a freeze function, you might end up, well, you'll see. I'll tell you when we get there. But I'm going to use this freeze function because it'll just make a reverb basically that'll just go on forever. And it'll get rid of the fact that reverbs always decay to smaller. I want like just a thick sausage of reverb. So let's see how this freeze function is working. Yeah, that sounds good. See how it'll just go forever? So I'm going to create an audio track, record, enable it, and just hit record. Oh, Hit record again. Cool. Now I can just get rid of this. And then we'll just pick a nice region. And since the amplitude isn't changing on this reverb, this should loop perfectly. Yeah. Great. So we have our ambience here. The next thing I would do in this track is actually grab one of the sidechains. So I will copy this kickstart that came from one of the basses. I'll actually jack it so it's really pumping. And now we have, let's leave it as it is and let's mix it in. Now to mix it in, we want to bring it up till we can hear it and then bring it back down a little bit, kind of like the way you would mix in a reverb. It's meant to be felt and not so much heard. So let's do that. Somewhere around there should be pretty good. Let's A/B this. Oh yeah. Back in. Felt a little loud. I'll mute it. Yeah. So it's a pretty straightforward technique, but it adds a lot of flavor. One thing you might want to do is, and try it. It's all mix specific. These aren't rules. But you might want to throw an EQ on there and get rid of any low energy. Yeah, so that's working. You may also want to boost the highs for more air. Let's try that. Turn it down a little bit. Without. Yeah, that's adding a lot. So as you can see, the technique is pretty straightforward. Grab a note from your track or chord or a little snippet of the vocal, whatever. Run it through a huge reverb and make sure that it loops nicely. You may have to do some gain automation on a reverb, that doesn't have this freeze option. So the tail's shrinking. You would just use gain to offset that and get it to that nice little sausage. Or maybe you want the dynamic change. I mean, try it both ways. There's no rules on this thing. Some things to look out for though. Monocompatibility would be one of them. We're making this kind of huge phasey thing. And while it could be okay for it to disappear in mono, it depends on its role, really. If it's just adding some width, it's okay for some of it to disappear in mono. But let's say in our case, we added all this brightness. And as you can see with the free Ozone Imager 2, get that? It's not... The correlation should be closer to +1 if you want it to hold up in mono, and it's kind of near 0, so you will lose a lot of the sound. And since it's adding brightness in this case, you just want to be careful that your mono version isn't going to be dark. Here, let's play this in mono. I'll toggle between mono and stereo. I just have a hotkey. Let me also play it again just in mono, and I'll take the ambience in and out. Let's try that. It actually still is adding something. It's a lot more subtle in mono. So one thing you may want to do, or may want to take a look at to ensure that your ambience kind of holds up in mono, especially if it's adding kind of a lot, although maybe it shouldn't, is control the width of it. So as I bring the width down, it's going to be less wide, but that's the trade-off. It'll hold up a little better in mono. So here, I'll hit play and do it. And you can just see the correlation meter going up towards +1. So it'll hold up better in mono. Those are two things to think about. Don't overdo it, and consider mono. Always consider mono, though. You should be toggling back and forth between mono and stereo as you make your track. So yeah. So there you have it. A pretty straightforward way to add depth and excitement to your songs. If you aren't able to hear it that well over the YouTube compression, I urge you to try this technique yourself. Make sure to like and subscribe and do all the things. You can also support this channel for as low as $5 on Patreon. You'll get access to all these videos on YouTube with no commercials, but also access to companion videos as they roll out, including a 2-hour video of me making Maelstrom patches to go along with this video. Speaking of Maelstrom though, how familiar are you with this synth beast? It's truly a unique synth that can make classic timbres as well as crazy timbres. Check out this video right here and watch me break this grain table synth down to its nuts and bolts. See ya.